saying good morning because it is rightful to address you in that way, right? It being a morning. And still here with the second hour of the show. This particular segment is when we're going into some of these key topics of discussion. And one probably this time round, we had Pedison Mumbere going out there getting us these exclusives from there. Pedison, who is a senior reporter with us here, and getting us these exclusive interviews and exclusive one-on-ones, if I'm to put it in that way, with most probably key experts in different areas or sectors of the economy, trying to understand conservation of the environment, or what we would say quality water monitoring. If we want this to be enhanced in the country, you can as well see that it's going to be a collective term. The widespread concern about the poor water management in Uganda, by the way, will be one of the major factors limiting sustainable development, not only today, but in the few years to come, and maybe even in a few decades. With urban population growing, more so with the Kampala Business District, the CBD, and then residential areas around Kampala, the likes of Kira, Ntinda, Najera, name them. As they're actually growing, the financial pressures on urban water utilities is actually intensifying as a country. So when you look at situations as well, is that preferably as the world is actually growing today, as development comes up and cities grow, as most probably we are seeing urban development or seeking for a growth of the cities or growth of districts. There is one thing you need to also know, that continuously water monitoring should be enhanced as Ugandans, because that is the only way we can understand or greatly get a picture of conserving our environment. Now, this particular topic that we're going to have in our first discussion is regarding mapping of water resources. And while meeting the huge financing needs for the maintenance and expansion of basic water services is a key priority, recognizing the Millennium Development Goals at the World Summit on Sustainable Development. Reports show that an estimated $75 billion per year is needed to expand water service infrastructure beyond the costs of maintaining existing systems. And it's on this same regarding water mapping or water resource mapping that Dr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza has called upon policymakers to find ways of monitoring the quality and quantity and avoid the possible threats that can as well tarnish the water resources. Let's first have this particular one coming in from Dr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza and Pedison Mumbere in matters to do with water mapping, water resource mapping. Check this out.
Uganda, like any other African country, a lot of mineral resources and some other natural resources that we have on ground. One of them is the lakes, the rivers, mentioning them. So today with me is Director General, or Mr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza, is the Director General of the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development. And we want to see how can we use this water, how can we map out this water for sustainable development. Mr. Dr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza, you're most welcome. Today you're in Uganda, and what are you exactly looking at this particular point?
Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be in Uganda indeed. Uganda is one of the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development, which is headquartered in Nairobi. But it's been there since 1975.
True.
And one of the reasons for setting it up was actually to help the member states map and understand the natural resources they have. One of them is water, which you've just mentioned. Then be able to plan for them and monitor their use or misuse as the case may be. So water resources is a critical resource on our continent and indeed in the whole world. So there are many surface water sources, including lakes, rivers and streams. that are very important in different sectors, whether it's for domestic use, whether it's for fishing, whether it's for transport, whether it's for helping in power generation. There are many uses, but those uses cannot be reached if we don't understand these resources, manage them, and make sure they are not, their quality is maintained. So our purpose here is to meet our stakeholders in Uganda, because there are a number of activities that we undertake using Earth observation to monitor these resources. So we've just had a presentation on the monitoring, for example, quality of our freshwater sources, like Lake Victoria and other lakes. So we are trying to show the power of space science, satellite technology, to be able to improve the existing capabilities in monitoring the quality of these resources. And that's what we've been sharing with our counterparts from the different ministries in this country.
Why should a government like Uganda get a reason to prioritize conserving water? What do you think is very important?
No, absolutely. I think from primary school we're always told water is life. So basically we won't have life on this planet if we lose our water resources. That's why, despite all the explorations to find a second planet where human beings can live, we have not been successful because we haven't found water, which is really the beginning of life. So with the water resources we have and the major threats to these resources, it calls us to really find ways of improving them. But if you see Lake Victoria the way it is, I mean, its water levels have been changing. There have been attacks by hyacinth and other things, but there are even more serious issues that we can't see by our eyes. We've seen fertilizers that are being used on the hills, getting into the water and killing the aquatic life. So it's important that we find ways of monitoring the changes in the quality of the water, the quantity, and then inform policymakers, whether it's the ministries, what action needs to be done to preserve the quality of these water resources. So we are lucky now we have satellites that are able to monitor these surfaces for ourselves. Instead of requiring you to sit on a canoe or a ship, move from one point on the water body to the other, you have a big camera that is capturing the whole surface at a go several times a day, and you can be able to see how these changes are happening and inform actions that are needed.
There are issues where these waters have been encroached on. Many people, even local people at the grassroots,
yes,
they have put up houses on these water resources and everything. What do you think we should do to conserve this water, to make it live for centuries?
No, I think the actions vary.
Yeah.
But before you go to actions, you must actually demonstrate the extent of the problem.
Okay.
And that's what we are doing through the mapping and monitoring. We must demonstrate that there is a lot of sedimentation, for example, in Lake Victoria, and the consequences of that. We must demonstrate the chemical composition of the lake is changing and therefore detrimental to us and to the aquatic life. Okay. Once we do that, then that calls attention. You go to the next step. You have shown the extent of the problem, you have indicated the source, and therefore the possible solutions. So some of them involve actually mobilizing the local people and being honest with them and tell them that, the fish you are collecting from this lake has fertilizers. The consequences, you're going to have increase in the cancer cases, for example. The fish quantity is depleted because there's no oxygen and it is caused by ABCD. So for you to do that, we need to do ABCD. We need to, for example, have a buffer, 200 meters, no economic activity, so that you don't have fertilizers flowing into the lake. So the solutions can be generated, but we must demonstrate that there is actually a problem, show it vividly, and then mobilize all the stakeholders to do their part in actually mitigating and remedying these problems.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that vivid statement. That's what the doctor has said, that we need to first identify the problem. After identifying these problems, then we can find
All right, and there, Pedersen Mumbury having an exclusive with Dr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza on the matters of water resource mapping Water resource mapping. Well, the issue here is mainly regarding quality water monitoring and making sure that we safeguard the environment so that in the few decades we don't face a vow of it doesn't affect the sustainable development of the country, and to at least safeguard the natural resources. We are still looking at the matters of seeing that we address the issues of climate change, and that is by following up on that particular situation. And Dr. Emmanuel Nkurunziza believes that policymakers should find ways of monitoring the quality and quantity to avoid threats. Well, many new scientific and technological developments have been helping to increase the efficiency and the use of available water resources, one, to reduce emissions of pollutants to water bodies, and to improve purification of drinking water. So here, James Wanjohi, a technician water quality from the water quality, came up with an application that he thinks will help to monitor the quality of water resources. And well, securing safe, reliable, reasonably priced water and sanitation services for all is one of the leading challenges facing sustainable development. And at the beginning of the 21st century, if you're to look at this, 1.1 billion people still do not have access to safe water. Now, with this particular app that James Wanjohi came up with, he believes that it will monitor water quality levels, and then at least there would be a chance that you, a consumer, can utilize or can have a chance to at least access safe, clean, and available water for you. Now, Pedison Mumbere still got an exclusive from this gentleman as well. Let's have a look.
Talking about water quality management, and this time round I am with Mr. James Wanjohi. He's a technical person from the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development, and this time round is a man who has come up with an application that helps us to see the quality of the waters that are surrounding us. Yes, Mr. James, tell us about the application and why did you come up?
So at RCMRD we have a project called Severe Eastern and Southern Africa. That project, we went through different countries to get the needs of different countries in terms of water and water resources. So it came up from that need assessment that water quality is an issue, especially in lakes that are transboundary in nature. What I mean by transboundary is these lakes are shared resources between different countries. So because of different countries implementing their own regulations in how to use those lakes, then some countries have used those lakes in an unsustainable way. So that's why the issue of water quality monitoring came about, because there is evidence now show what lake water quality has degraded over time.
Okay, so how are you working with the Ugandan government to enhance this project?
So in order for us to capacitate the Ugandan government, we have come up with various training modules on how to retrieve data from remote sensing datasets. So we engage with different institutions in the Ugandan government, like the Ministry of Water and Environment and NAFIRI. I think NAFIRI is the institution mandated to research on fisheries. So we work with them and they give us their own request, and through this request we are able to action on it and also create training programs that will help them to address those issues.
I'm very skeptical. I don't know, is Ugandans or any person from Kenya or Uganda or Tanzania, is he going to learn how to use this? Some of the people are not good at. Some of them don't have smartphones.
Yes.
So how to use that application is also another issue.
Yes. So what we try to do is we have stakeholders that we work with. with. And these stakeholders, we have identified them based on the skills they have, their background, because you have to communicate or to address the issue based on the people who is raising that issue. So most of the stakeholders we work with are very conversant on the water quality issues in the region, and these are the people that we tried. But essentially, as you are saying, we have to take the tool to the people who are on the ground. So, but in order for us to do that, we use stakeholders who actually have the presence on the ground. We capacitate them, and once they are aware of that knowledge, they again use their networks to reach the people who are on the ground and inform them better.
So, has it costed you? How much has it cost you to come up with this application? It's also very important. If
yes.
You can speak louder, a little bit louder.
Okay, so we are funded by the USAID. Okay. So that's where we get our source of income, so if you would like to say that. But essentially what they fund is the technical aspects of creating the application, and the capacity or the maintaining the staff in the region. But essentially everything that we use here is free. There is no cost associated in creating this application.
Okay, maybe which other specific projects is RSMRD is working on?
Yes.
In Uganda at the moment, apart from this one?
In Uganda, we have a lot of projects that we are working on. So under the Severe Eastern and Southern Africa, that is one project, and we have various thematic areas. One of the thematic areas is weather and climate. Under weather and climate, we have done projects to do with I'm forgetting the name, but I'll remember. Okay. But under water and hydroclimate disaster, we have flood warning, stream flow monitoring, flood forecasting as well, and also this water quality and assessment. Also, we have done land use and land cover projects here. We have actually generated various land covers maps for the Ugandan government.
Okay.
Yes.
So water is being degraded. Most of the lakes around here is getting off and off.
Yeah.
Do you think of making this application known even in Africa somewhere?
Yes.
Because water is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Water is an important resource. Yeah. It supports a lot of people, and especially in Eastern and Southern Africa, we see patterns of people settling where water is available, like for example around the lake shores. And the reason we attribute this to is because water is helpful. It's helpful to them through getting fish from the lake, or whether they want to travel from one side to the other. So that's how important the lake resources is. But for this tool, we have a specific stakeholders that we want to reach out to. So essentially, what you want to do is you want to capacitate the policymakers to understand the outputs of this tool and how it can help them make very informed decision. Because with the knowledge of understanding how lakes healthies actually are, you can be able to make a decision that will actually improve the health of that lake. So that way, those decisions are actually data driven, but not just from the book or something of the sort. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you. This is what the technical person is telling us. Water quality is very important, and it needs to be conserved and needs to be bought by policymakers so that we make our water very important. Water is important. We have done very many businesses on lakes, even on rivers. So I think if this application can be used by our policymakers, especially here in Uganda, it can help us to make our development going higher.
All right, and that is it. When you look at the situation last century, 1.1 billion people still do not have access to safe water. And that same app that was actually innovated by James Wanjohi, is to check the quality levels of water. And now let's switch off to the press review. Quite a number of stories in here that we can definitely get in touch with in regards to business details and from the business editors. And with me here, I have the Daily Monitor. I've got with me as well the New Vision, as we get to understand what is there. Now, something here to do with the Daily Monitor has actually highlighted something in the prosper sector, where they actually are highlighting something to do with why is your money losing value as a Ugandan. And they've highlighted something here, that the Ugandan shilling is currently under pressure against the other major world currencies such as the United States dollar. And they explain why the currency's value is getting eroded and how you can hedge against its loss. And also there's something to do with the currency markets, where the shilling posted sharp losses according to the banks. And then business insights, there is a rental tax bill which will looking at the rental tax bill, which will discourage investment in real estate. And this one is one of the reasons as to why now real estate looks to be profitable for some and non-profitable to many as well, if you venture into it, if you're not ready. And also with the Daily Monitor here has also looked at Makerere graduations here, as women power has been one of those that have been highlighted here as the first session of the Makerere University's 72nd graduation that took place yesterday offered a unique yet inspiring stories of women breaking the proverbial glass ceiling, as quite a number of women graduated with PhDs yesterday. Graduation takes day 2 today, Makerere University's 72nd graduation ceremony. And now with the New Vision as well, President Museveni has come out to assure teachers on pay rise, and he says that both sciences and arts or humanities teachers are to benefit from this phased manner. And he was actually addressing this during the Makerere University's 72nd graduation ceremony, and he was actually attending it virtually at State House in Nakasero. So he wasn't there in person, but he and the First Lady apparently celebrated that virtually. And then also the New Vision has highlighted something to do with the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, who says that there is no right time to cut taxes, as the government declines to increase fuel money for civil servants. In that same situation as well,